So when you're doing the leg press exercise, the most important thing to get right is to put your feet in the correct position on the foot plate. The feet need to be high so that you can weight bear through the heels, and the feet need to be the appropriate width apart, which is the same width as your pelvis. This will allow you to weight bear correctly through the outer border of the foot. If my feet were placed too low, as in this position, then as I bend my knees, the weight comes very definitely onto the balls of the foot. And because of the tightness in my Achilles tendon and calf area, it's very difficult for me to keep the weight through the heels. In this position, the pressure is felt very much in the front of the knee, and this can make your knee uncomfortable. So what is a really good exercise for your rehabilitation can fall into disrepute because it can make your knees actually sore. The way we overcome that pressure is to raise the feet into this position. Now my feet can comfortably put the pressure through the heels, the toes are relaxed, and now as I lower down, I can keep that pressure through the heels and through the outer border of the foot. Now the range of movement that I should use should be about 90 degrees of knee bend. So in other words, you need to start with the machine quite close to the foot plate in order to give yourself that range of movement with the weights. So it looks like this. Slowly bend, smoothly, down to 90 degrees, and at this point you can see that my thighs are perpendicular to the ceiling. The toes are still relaxed, pressure's on the outer border of the feet. And when I push out, this is very important, I fully straighten the knees, but I don't overly press them into that position with a forceful snap. What I do is I guide them into that position, and that's very important because a lot of people will give advice that you shouldn't straighten the knee fully, but in our opinion it's very important that the knee is fully extended all the way into this position. When we do this, the quadriceps can relax, the patella can be loose on the knee, so you actually reduce the pressure on the knee. I know some people will tell you that this is not the case and that actually there is too much pressure on the knee when you extend them fully. It's not true, there is actually less pressure on the knee when they're fully straight. So this is how the exercise should look. This will be the correct speed of the exercise. So slowly bending to 90 degrees, pushing out to fully straight. Now if somebody's got a weaker knee, then you'll often see the fact that they can not control this initial bend and you get a slight flick as they bend initially. Now we want to control that, so it's a very slow, controlled initiation of bend. And the other thing that's very important is that when we approach full straightening, that we don't snap, we've got very much the controlled pressing back of the knee, and you can feel that stretch behind the knee indicating that you've reached the full range of motion. Now the knees are tracking in line with the feet. One of the big mistakes that people make is to allow the knees to deviate inwards, so they almost come together. We'll look at this in a moment from behind, which shows this more clearly, but just so you're aware, keep the knees the same width as the feet. So the weight will then definitely stay down the outer border of the foot. And that's how to do the double leg press. Now from this view, we get the correct orientation of the knees in relation to the foot. So as I push out for the double leg press, we want to make sure that the knees stay tracking in line with their respective foot. So it will look like this. Slowly bending, toes still relaxed, but knees exactly in line with the feet. And then push out. One of the common mistakes is to allow the knees to come together like this and deviate inwards. This is a poor position and can really cause some quite nasty problems around the patella and the knee joint itself. So we want to avoid that, keep the knees apart so they're the same width as the feet, and push out fully to a fully straight position, keeping that orientation as we can see here. Now when we're doing the single leg press, we put both feet on the foot plate in this position, as we've done for the double leg press. It might be thought of that you should put one leg on and push out from this angle. If I'm to push from this sort of position here with one knee, this is very stressful for this knee to be in this degree of bend and push out. And if the weight was perhaps a little bit too heavy, you could really cause a problem to the knee doing this. So this is a great deal of strain to push from there. So on the safe side, always push out initially with 2 feet. So we get to this position, and now we can concentrate on the good leg. In my case, my good leg is the right side. We always do the good leg first so that you get an awareness of how the exercise feels on your good side before you subject that stress to the affected side or the side that may have had surgery. So we drop down my left side, the knee's fully extended, the alignment of the knee is good, but this time we're only going to bend the knee to about 60 degrees. So it's a really slow initiation of bend. That would be an appropriate angle for if somebody was running, the knee might bend to that angle. We wouldn't very often in everyday life bend beyond that on one leg, so there's no need to stress the knee in such a way that you would do. So we push out fully, extending the knee all the way with control. So at no point am I snapping the leg back. I'm not advocating that at all, but what we are advocating is a very slow initiation of bend and also a full extension with full control. So we search out that final position. Once I've done the set number of repetitions on my good side, I change over to the affected side and repeat the exercise. Now this first 15 degrees of knee bend is really important, and anybody who has a sore knee will always hold the knee slightly bent, and we call that a quads lag. Now it's very important when you're getting the knee back into shape that we make sure we have the ability to fully extend with control and initiate the bend without a flick like so. So if your knee is shaking or flicking in this way, that's showing lack of control. It may be that the resistance is too heavy and you need to adjust it. The extension should also be full. Very often people get to this point and it's a quiver and then it snaps back. We're trying to avoid that and just keep the movement smooth or through the heel and fully extend. Very often you'll hear crunching and cracking when you do this. Unless that crunching and crackling sound is accompanied by pain, we normally don't give it too much worry. So if we do this exercise well and we do it consistently, very often that crunching and cracking sensation will diminish over time and become less noticeable. As we've already mentioned, when you do the single leg exercise on the leg press, you must always press out with both feet initially. It would be quite uncomfortable and dangerous on the knee to push with just one leg from such a deep position of flexion like this or bend. So I'm going to push out with both legs. Again, from this angle, we get to see the correct alignment of the knee in relation to the foot. Another common mistake though when people are doing single leg work is to think to put one foot into the middle of the foot plate. Now you can see now from the position you're in looking at this that my knee and hip and foot are completely out of alignment, and this is going to create this horrible inward valgus position we call of the knee, which will put a lot of stress around the medial side of the joint. So to avoid that, we keep the feet orientated exactly as they were for the double leg exercise, so the foot, the knee and the hip are in this nice parallel series. Once we've achieved this full extension position here, I do my good leg first. So in this case, for me, my good leg is my right leg, place the left leg down, and now we only bend to 60 degrees. But you can see the correct alignment between the knee and the foot. Again, just a slow, controlled initiation of bend, and the final bit of extension is smooth, but goes all the way into full extension. As I change over to the opposite side, I do so again with the leg straight, put the right leg down now, and work through that left side, not allowing the knee to deviate inwards. So this will be a poor position, going over like this, where the weight-bearing surface is now the inside of the foot. We want to make sure that the outer board of the foot and the heel is where the predominance of the weight bearing is felt. Again, just a 60-degree bend, but the real focus is on that initial bend, making sure that's controlled, and the final bit of straightening, that we search out that last bit of straightening and feel that stretch below the knee. Now, as you've probably noticed, this machine is designed to be used in a lying down position, which is very forgiving on your lower back. But the majority of gyms buy a machine like a leg press that's in a seated position only and doesn't adjust. We'll adapt this machine now to show you the position that you would adopt if you had to use a seated machine, which is likely to be the case. If my feet were put in this position, as we mentioned before, you can now see that it's difficult for me to get the heels to the foot plate. The orientation of the knees to the toes shows that my feet are too low, and it's almost impossible for me to get my heels down so that I can emphasize the push through the heels. So in a seated position, I'd still have to raise the feet like so, and here we can see that it's very easy now for me to relax the front of the foot and emphasize through the heels. Now, because this machine is designed to be used lying down, it doesn't allow me to get close enough. You'd obviously want to be much closer into the machine so that you could bend the knees to a 90-degree position, but this is what the exercise would look like. I'd be pushing out into a fully straight position still, pressure through the outer border of the foot and the heel, and then I'd be slowly initiating the bend and coming down, and I would be bending to 90 degrees, but as I mentioned, this machine doesn't allow me to do that because it's not supposed to be used in this way. The single leg position would be the same. Fully extend the knee, keep the knee in good alignment with the foot, and then we'd initiate that bend slowly down to a 60-degree bend, and then we'd push out. This is a nice adaptation of the use of a leg press machine to produce a manoeuvre which is very functional for pushing off. If I come to the ground here, if I'm going to run, I'm going to be in this position, and my driving leg is going to be this right leg, and I'm going to be in this position and push in this way, which is a fully extended knee and a pointing of the toes. Now, again, we've mentioned already that this machine in your gym may very well have a back on it and have a proper seat. If it does do, just hold on to the seat, put your chest against it, and then you place one foot on the foot plate, as in this position here. The other knee rests on the bed of the machine, and then from this position I'll hold my body as if I was leaning against the back of the seat, and then you can now drive the knee fully straight and point the toes. And again, this is done in a real powerful way, but the return movement where the knee bends and the heel returns towards the foot plate is done with control, and then the forward pressing movement is done powerfully. So you should see here that my knee is fully extended, my calf is fully pointed, and the hip is also in extension. And this is the mechanism of driving off to run or to jump. So we're getting the hamstrings working as a hip extender with the glute, we're getting the quads extending the knee, and we're getting the calf, gastrocnemius complex, pointing the toes. So what we call triple extension.